What up, everybody? Welcome back to Zuggy's Zone. This is
Good
take
morning.
2 of this recording. We just tried to go live on YouTube, and man, that did not work. It was a slideshow, so we're going to go back to recording. It seemed to work last week, and this week we got a lot of big stories to get into. But before we start, Jet, how you doing today?
Tired. For those that don't know, we are doing this at about 8 in the morning. And neither of us, I think, are truly morning people unless we have to go to like a class or something.
Well, even then.
So,
even then,
even
it's like
then,
maybe hit the
shut up,
campus
like,
Starbucks or
man.
something beforehand. Yeah.
So, but we do this for the love of the game. We do this for the love of y'all. So, we are here to bring you that news. Overall, I'm doing pretty all right, though. Not too bad. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing all right, but I am finding that, I am going to have to turn you up on Discord to start the day because neither of us are talking at full volume. We're both very tired, just kind of roll out of bed today and hop straight on to Zuggy's Zone. So, yeah. So let's get into our first segment of the day. It is the weekly wrap-up, and the weekly wrap-up is essentially a segment where we're going to talk about the biggest stories in sports, which, since it's 8 a.m., I didn't update the headline titles for any of these. So we're going to go no headlines today, too, because I am just special. So, wow, okay. So, first story of the day that we're going to talk about is something that hits home to your team, at least your former team. We'll get into that later. Rashee Rice is going to play at least the first 4 games of this year as his suspension hearing got pushed back to September 30th. Which is causing a lot of controversy in the league because there is video evidence of him doing what he did. Could have been suspended the day of, and we'll show you guys the video later. But the first 4 games of the year for the Chiefs, they get 3 really tough ones. You get the Chargers, you have the Eagles, and the Ravens. So no wonder the league needs Rice to play, because if the Chiefs don't win some of these games, it might cost them home playoff games. That's going to hurt ratings really bad if they don't end up winning these. And they're also big primetime games that everybody's trying to watch. So they're trying to make these games good by keeping them on the field, which I disagree with wholeheartedly. It goes against my morals, but, the NFL does not have morals. They just want money.
Money.
Oh, absolutely. They need that money because, they're really strapped for cash right now.
I know, right? One of the most profitable leagues in all of sports right now, and they want to... they just want to keep Rice on. No. Look, it's not surprising. It's not surprising in the slightest to see that Rice's suspension got delayed, especially to the end of September. Do I think that's even remotely fair? No. Because you see Jordan Addison, who had an offense lesser than his, and Jordan Addison, he's already suspended. They already have his punishment waiting for him as soon as the season starts. But he's not a big name. He's not on a big name team like the Chiefs. So it doesn't matter. He didn't win a Super Bowl in his rookie year like what Rashee Rice did. He wasn't the saving grace of a team when their entire O-line and receiving core was god-awful. So, they need their angel receiver
Their Angel Reese?
Their Angel Reese?
Yeah, I don't think they need an Angel Reese on that team. I don't think that makes your team better. We'll get into that later.
One thing I will say, he has the month-long jail sentence that he still has to serve sometime in his 5-year probationary period. And to be honest, it just, that also just doesn't sit right with me. That he has to, anytime during that 5 years, he could just pick, oh yeah, I'll go ahead and do it now. So
Yeah, it's super lame.
you can tell he's not going to do it till the off season, but
Yeah, the NFL wheel of discipline is never a fair one. We all know that. It's not okay, and the way they did it, it just looks really bad. I come out and swinging, and I say, well, they're doing it because the first 4 games are tough. And it's hard to not believe that because the Chiefs are the darling. They are the team. They're one of the most marketable teams. The new episode of New Heights literally crashed their podcast site because so many people tuned in because Taylor Swift was on it. They know where their bread is buttered. They know they're getting viewership out of them. But, dude, it's on video. And, we'll show you guys the video here in a minute. Dude, it's clear as cut. You can see him get out of the car. He crashes his car because he's street racing, and then he hit and runs. All he had to do was be like, all right, I got insurance, I got hella money, we can take care of this. But instead he ran. It's like, what are we doing?
But dude, you could have easily, like, yeah, reckless driving, people went into jail. You didn't kill nobody, though. You could have just, hell, insurance aside, you're making money. Agree to pay for damages, agree to pay for whatever the hospital bill is, and be on your way, and you're fine, right? Obviously, you do one insurance to pay for it, but, like, do all that. But no, he decided to run. And in Texas, they don't mess with that stuff. Because all this happened in Texas. This didn't even happen here in Missouri. It didn't happen in Kansas City. It happened during the offseason while in Texas. So,
yeah, not the place to do something like that. Just not, there's some places that'll let you get away with it. Like, if he did it in Kansas City, Missouri, they might have been like, all right, well, you play for the Chiefs, but no, not when you're out of state. You can't do stuff like that. All right, I feel like I've teased it enough. I've also been working on the headlines, so I'm trying to multitask here. We do have a headline up on screen. We have fixed some of the graphics. Let's look at the incident, and we can both be the judge of this here. This was recorded from someone else's perspective via dash cam, and you're going to see two cars come out of the left side of our screen here in a moment, and they have no intentions of slowing down. They are... brother. And the best part of the video is coming up. So Rashee Rice, this other guy, they get in this accident. First thing they do, they get out of the car here, and they're looking at their own car. They don't give a damn about the person they just hit. So, you know how that is. That's life. A lot of times people just don't care about the people they hit. They care about their own stuff. But I'd feel awful. I'd feel really, really bad if that was me. Just hitting some random person, getting on their way.
No, and I mean, you got to have that little bit of humanity, do you? Where if you hit somebody, you check on them, and then you look at the damage to an object. It's an object. That's all the vehicle is. It is just something that you can replace. But, yeah, no, the fact that they just went straight to looking at the car, that's...
And, he ran from the scene of the crime. So that's our kind of take on it. He should be suspended for longer. He should have been suspended last season. When you already have video evidence, he did it. He has a jail sentence. You're just pushing it back so he can play in these important games, and I just can't subscribe to that. That's scummy.
Which, another thing I want to bring up before we transition, though, they were going to suspend him for over half the season. Like they were. Tom Pelissero on Twitter said that the NFL were going to suspend him for over half the season this season. But somehow they got him to delay his hearing for a month to where he could play those first 4 games, and then there's still a chance that they may come to some sort of agreement with that deal. So there's still a way that Rashee Rice could only get a slap on the wrist and not even be out a good chunk of the season, like what most people thought. And favoritism is favoritism. You cannot hurt the golden child of the NFL right now when, you're building so much off of the back of their revenue, especially when, they're wanting to move out of Missouri.
Yeah.
So, no, they're not going to hurt the golden child, but at the same time, do I agree with it? Absolutely not. No, not in the slightest. Let him play his 4 games. He's done for the season.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? But, we don't live in a fair world. And, the NFL is trying to keep their star players on the field with these suspensions. Usually that's the whole goal, is they want their moneymakers out there. But my argument is, if you care so much about them being on the field, why don't we take more safety precautions with the game? Why are we so slow to adapt with all of these rules? Why do we still have these terrible turf fields where people are tearing their ACLs? You have 2 big New York market teams, and they play on the crappiest turf with the most ACL injuries. That's a huge market. Those players need to be on the field for ratings, and you don't care.
I mean,
but you'll let a felon back on the field with nothing. I don't get it. I really don't. How does this help them monetarily? Whatever.
Perfect example, 2 years ago in New York, brand new shiny Aaron Rodgers on the Jets plays 5 minutes. I think total game time, he only played like 1:20, and then he tears his ACL and he's out for the season.
And who won that football game?
Pretty sure it was the Jets, wasn't it?
And who lost that football game?
That one I'm not sure of.
The Buffalo Bills.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that was awful. What a night. Opening night of the season. This atmosphere is crazy. I'm like, I'm ready for some Bills football. The Jets are finally going to be decent. This is going to be fun. And I don't get anything. I don't get to watch Aaron Rodgers, and my team played like garbage. I mean, Allen was awful that night.
Then again, I'm just not a fan of Rodgers. Honestly, the less of Rodgers I see, the better. I don't wish anybody to get hurt. But
yeah, that was tragic.
Time, the less of Rodgers for me.
that was tragic. That was bad.
And your season's over on a brand new team. A brand new team.
Dude, that place was rocking. That place, I've never seen
rock.
MetLife that cool before. Everyone had the lights on before the game, running out with the flag. I mean, win the Super Bowl, that's an all-time picture, that all-time video.
Oh yeah. They were hyped.
Dude, and you can't blame them.
Hype to be gone.
Because you had Zach Wilson as your quarterback for a few years there, and it was just not working out. Well, I mean, it's forever. I mean, all their quarterbacks have been awful historically. So
I don't know. Zach Wilson ain't that bad, man.
He's not that good. He's not that good. He's not that good.
The Jets.
All right, we're gonna move into our second story in the weekly wrap up.
Yes,
Shohei Ohtani. Look, he was cleared of his issues the first time because that was that big gambling scandal, and you play on the same team as someone named Betts. I think that's enough to convict him, but clearly he was innocent. So this time he's involved in some hot water for real estate stuff. $240 million are not in someone else's pocket currently, and they are upset. And now there are legal issues. So, Jet, what is going on? And can you tell us, why is everyone so upset about this?
So the reason people are upset is because Ohtani and his agent, they got brought in on this real estate deal so that way they could have some star power, some leverage. They were able to get some, big name into it so that way they can get this development going. The issue with that is as soon as they came in, they started demanding a lot of concessions from both the developer and the real estate broker, and demanding that they drop certain business partners on this venture. The lawsuit does state that the agent and Ohtani were brought in to the venture solely for his promotional and branding value, but they exploited their celebrity leverage to destabilize and ultimately dismantle plaintiff's role in the project for no reason other than their own financial self-interest. So essentially, they brought him in to basically be the poster boy for this whole real estate venture to build, houses in Hawaii and all that. Luxury houses that are going to be like $17 million a piece, not like, sustainable housing.
The type of stuff he could live in.
Exactly. They brought him in to be the face of that, of like luxury housing. And he went in and said, nope, mine. You leave. And now they're not happy with that.
And I'm sure it wasn't really him doing all of this, but he is a big part of it, and he is going to be named in the lawsuit. Because I don't think he went in and said, I have a personal grudge against you and I need more money. The dude is getting sponsorships out the ass in Japan. He is on every billboard. He is on every single commercial. He is the man of Japan, and he's also huge here in the States. Dude does not need more money, and I'm sure the people that were around him were the ones making these awful decisions. But it's one thing to have gambling stuff on the side. Gambling is gambling. We've seen it a lot. This isn't unprecedented to have gambling issues in sports. The minute you start getting involved in real estate, those are some of the shrewdest business people on the planet. You don't screw with those people.
Shark Tank. Yeah. Mess with some realtors.
You don't screw with BlackRock. You don't screw with these big companies that own lots of real estate and are investing millions of dollars. They will ruin your life.
Oh, yeah.
And he'll get out of it, I'm sure. But
I think it's also important. In that article, they say his agent's name clearly, and then in parentheses, it's Ohtani. So obviously, they're not necessarily going after Ohtani himself. They're going after his agent, which again, like with the gambling scandal, was his agent and interpreter at the time going through a whole gambling ring and doing all that. But Ohtani's name got slapped on it because he trusted his agent. And now it's the same thing. His agent and his interpreter is doing some really scummy stuff with this land deal and this whole realty experience, and it is reflecting bad on Ohtani.
Yep. I will add this on before we move on. The day this all dropped, he hits into a triple play with runners on. His team gets swept by the Angels. Dodgers no longer in the sole lead of their division. This could be the Dodgers' downfall. It's not actually going to be their downfall. They'll be fine. They got plenty of pitching in the wings. Once they get healthy, they'll be good.
But it is rather funny that all this came out boom, 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 and it just seems like karma came to get him on that one.
Which he's probably a fine dude. He seems fun.
Oh,
I like him, but
he's a really cool dude. But
we all want to see him fail at some point because he's so good. He's on the best team in baseball. Loved him on the Angels, but on the Dodgers, I can't do it, man. I can't.
It's because it's the Dodgers,
right?
Yeah,
we're a bunch of haters. If you're a Dodgers fan, feel free to leave some hate comments on that one. That was bad on us.
110%. But just know that you're wrong.
And just know our franchise owns Kershaw.
Exactly.
We're going to move on to our third story. This is the big one of the week. Not many people would care, I'm going to be real, if the NBA had a lockout next year. No. But what they do care about is the WNBA has been asking for more money for a while now. The average salary in the league is $100K, which personally I would take, but when you see your male counterparts getting millions and millions of dollars, it's easy to get a little greedy. But I don't know if I'd be this greedy. They had an offer that would have basically quadrupled their pay, moving them up from an average of $100K to $400K, and that's not like a guaranteed thing because, salaries, contracts, whatever. They declined it. The league, the players said, I think we can get more. And I just don't know if I agree with that, and we can dive into the numbers in a second, but what are your base level opinions on this story?
This is probably the dumbest thing that they could do as a movement for their own league. This is the wholehearted, blunt opinion. This is by far the dumbest move you can do if you are wanting to make your league more well known. I'm sorry. You're making it a whole race thing between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Not only are you advertising it as such, your own players are making it a race thing. People don't care about betting on you. People care about betting on if a neon fluorescent dildo is going to get thrown on your court in the middle of a game. And 3, your whole at the All-Star split saying, pay us what you owe us, started more like people not wanting to watch you than people wanting to watch you. I think what they don't realize is the WNBA is not a priority. They're not. The NBA is in off season right now. They don't start until October. And when October comes around, guess what? WNBA is gone. Nobody's going to care. Nobody wants to watch it in the first place. It's what they have in the background as background noise. I think the WNBA has to realize that right now they are at the level of Carney Sideshow. And they are trying to be more. Kind of like what we brought up in the last section, in the last video, where, if they get back to what the college basketball is, they can really improve and do better to that level of play, that level of advertising. People want to watch women's college basketball, but there's a disconnect going to WNBA. And I think now with the egos flaring and all that, it's terrible.
Bad
and it's going to kill their league.
It's a really bad look.
It is. I would not be surprised if the WNBA folds within the next year or two. The whole league. It would not shock me that if they do that lockout next year, and they say, okay, we're not going to play, WNBA or the NBA just goes,
I think it'd be a PR nightmare, because I was talking about this with a friend last night, and he might be watching. Shout out Caleb Horton. A new commissioner could come in and say, well, the league needs to make more money. Why are we subsidizing the WNBA? But then it looks really bad, because all of a sudden you're going to get people saying that you're a sexist organization, you're not supporting the WNBA. I don't think they want that smoke, especially they're making a lot of money. The WNBA the NBA, not the W, is very profitable at the moment. But I think my main take on this is, imagine you work for a company, and you're not really all that good at your job. And as a matter of fact, your company is losing money hand over fist, and you're not helping in the slightest, but you're getting paid $100K. I would take that job. Now, add on the
I'd take
top
that
of
job in
that
a
that you
heartbeat.
get sponsorships opportunities. You can go out, get sponsors, low-level sponsors, make money on the side. Your travel is free. A lot of your food is paid for. So a lot of that extra money that we would have to invest, getting groceries and stuff, a lot of that's
Yeah.
paid for on the road. They're being taken care of. They're in decent hotels, not the creme de la creme like the NBA. But you're not spending a lot of that money. You only work half the year. You can work the other half. And then afterwards, you're basically guaranteed a coaching gig. If you want to go coach high school, you want to go coach college, you're in the WNBA. You can probably weasel your way into some low-level school and get a paycheck afterwards.
Exactly.
I mean, that's like not a bad deal. And then $400,000 a year, that would have been a crazy deal for them. That would have been great. The players would have actually had good money on the side. They'd be living in luxury, way upper middle class, almost moving into that next tax bracket.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're throwing it away because essentially the WNBA players, their argument is that they are paid less than 10% of the league's revenue compared to the 50% that other leagues like the NBA, NHL, NFL have. They are getting 50% of the league's revenue back to the players, but the WNBA has to reinvest their own revenue to keep the league afloat. Almost all the money they're getting has to go back into the teams because they're not making enough money to survive. So that's kind of why they don't pay this way, but you're expecting, and this sounds bad, but I'd say this for any league, you're expecting athletes to understand the money structure of their league and why the billionaires do what they do. Most of us don't understand how to manage money. I don't blame them for that, but you got to educate yourself a little bit. That was a simple fact I pulled off the internet today. Come on.
No, the lack of awareness from their own players really, really shocks me. How can you be so blind that you're barely making enough to support your $100,000 paycheck, but you want more? And they're like, oh, but the NBA, the NHL, the NFL, they've been playing those games since the 40s, the 50s. They've had close to almost not at that mark, but close to 100 years to get to the level that they're at, making the money that they're making. They are old school organizations that had to build their wealth.
Yeah.
Football was not always once the cornerstone of American culture that it is now.
Yeah, I would have shut it down after its
frowned upon at
first
one
season,
point.
dude. Their first few years in the NFL were bad. I can't believe people watched that.
Yeah, it was not good. But they progressed as time went on, and they became better and more. And the reason there's the NFC versus the AFC, the NFC was just the NFL, and the AFC was just the AFL, and then the NFL bought the AFL, brought them in, one big NFL league, but now there's NFC and AFC. Business moves went to make that happen. Your league has been around for 20, maybe 30-ish years.
Yeah.
You are still relatively new. You're not going to make a lot of money, considering a lot of people still don't really know professional women's basketball is a thing. People didn't know professional football was a thing for the first few years either. But now you're making yourselves known, but in a bad light. You're not making yourselves known in a good, like what, football and baseball and all that had to. Now, baseball, national pastime, that's been popular forever. That one kind of had a little bit of a leg up on everybody. But again, NHL, that was a Canadian sport. America just made it a little bit bigger. Or they made their league to where now worldwide people want to go play in that league.
And now the Canadians can't win their own trophy.
Exactly. They can't win their own trophy.
Which I will actually have a question about that later on.
Good stuff.
So when we get to our hot take segment, I will be throwing a question at you, and I have a hot take relating to Canadians and their hockey. I think that's all we got. I guess the finishing thought is just figure out how to market yourself. Quit annoying the public, play some basketball, and get yourself some good press. Get some good PR. Start doing the right things, because you mentioned the other leagues. They've been around forever. They've had 1 billion lockouts. They've had 10 trillion CBAs they've had to sign. They've had to figure out how to get the players' rights the way they want to. It's a process. It can't happen overnight, and if you want something good to happen overnight, take the deal that gives you 4 times your money.
And we're not exaggerating when we're saying this. Looking at it, $66,000 is the minimum to $250,000. That's the maximum right now is $250,000, and they're upping the maximum to $1 million. You're losing money, and they're still offering to pay you upwards of $1 million a season, and they turned that down.
Because there's a big TV deal they're signing next year, which is part of the reason why they think they can get more. People still have to watch for that to work. You know, like the league will make the money off the TV deal. That's great. But you can't just give that straight to the players if people don't watch. But we're going to move into our special segment of the day. NFL season is upon us, ladies and gentlemen. And you know what that means? It means we got to do some predictions, some hot takes. And Jet, we're going to start off with you and your predictions for the different divisions, your Super Bowl winner, and your MVP. It's all on the screen now, so let's break it down.
Awesome. Yeah. So, for the AFC and the NFC North, I think that we are going to see the dominance of the Ravens at the top and the Lions at the top. Now, the Lions did have to have a duke out with the Minnesota Vikings, but I think overall the Lions are going to, even with the loss of their OC and their DC, I think they're going to prevail, and I think they're going to come out on top. Really, excited for this one. On to the second one, though, the AFC and NFC South. There was nothing exciting about this one. It was horrendous trying to pick this one because both those divisions, both NFC and AFC, are terrible. The South divisions are trash. So
They're
this
always
one was
bad.
easy.
They're
always bad. So this one wasn't even a fight. It wasn't even an argument. It's the Bucs with Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, maybe later down, and the Houston Texans. Like, there was no argument.
They're kind of the only competent teams in their division, so you almost have to give it to them. The Falcons, maybe.
Exactly.
Falcons, maybe, if Penix is good. But I'm with you on that so far.
Yeah, no. The South was probably the easiest ones to pick because there was really only two teams that could ever win those divisions, and that is those teams. The AFC and NFC West, though, or East, not West. West is last. The East, I think the Buffalo Bills take it again. The Bills have no reason to lose any momentum in their division whatsoever. They've only made themselves stronger. They've only solidified themselves Super Bowl contender. I genuinely think that they can make a run and go for it. Now, for the Washington Commanders, a little bit of mine was purely their division is super competitive. Their division is super diehard, no matter who the fan base is, whether it's the Giants, whether it's the Cowboys, whether it's the Eagles, whether it is the Commanders. But I think the Commanders are starting to build something. If they could figure out the Terry McLaurin, and at the beginning of the show, he did come off the PUP list. Breaking news, he's off the PUP list.
Okay.
So maybe contract negotiations are going to look good now. But the Commanders just look like the better team going into this next season. I get the Eagles are the Super Bowl champs. But, I mean, everybody hits that Super Bowl slump. It was a 1 in a million shot that the Chiefs got the back-to-back. And I don't see the Eagles doing that. I think that they're going to hit that slump. And I think they talk a big game of, we got to re-earn it. We got this, though. We got to re-earn everything. Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, you do. But at the same time, sophomore slump is a thing. That Super Bowl slump is a thing. And I think that that's going to hit the Eagles hard. And I think the Commanders are going to lead the division. It also goes to show I did pick Cowboys going last in this one because I do think with Micah Parsons and, I think that whole atmosphere, vibe, energy in that camp is chalked. Gone. I think.
So you have the Giants ahead of the Cowboys.
Slump. Oh, 110%.
Really? I mean, they're not hateful.
110%.
They're not going to be good, but
they're not going to
put the Cowboys ahead of them is a bit of a take.
I think the Cowboys are going to be dead last in their division. Now, the fourth and final divisions, the AFC and the NFC West, probably the two most notable, at least in the past few years, for their success. Yes, I have the Chiefs winning the West again.
Shocker.
I see no reason why not. The Broncos are starting to build it. They have a very good chance, and I actually have them going second. The Chargers aren't bad, but Justin Herbert can't get it done.
Oh.
He cannot get it done in big game situations. He can't. He chokes. He flops hard. The dude in big game situations is more likely to throw 5 picks than he is to throw 2 touchdowns.
Are we basing this off of
reality.
One playoff game where he kind of shit the bed? Or
I'm
just
basing
off of his
this
career?
off of his career. I think in big games he chokes. Now that playoff performance definitely didn't help.
No, that was bad. That was bad.
As far as that, the Chiefs take it far and behind. And the Raiders, I'm sorry, I get you have a brand new shiny head coach, brand new shiny quarterback, brand new shiny running back. You've got the tight end, and you've got Max Crosby. You have all the building pieces. I think you need another year or two before you're a playoff contender.
They don't have depth. They just don't.
No. I think you need to figure out your entire play style, your entire mentality that you want to have over a couple years, and then you'll be in contention. But right now, yeah, Chiefs take the West for the AFC. And then the Niners, I think last year was a fluke. I think last year was one of their weird, it was one of their weird off years.
I mean, they were hurt too. They were decimated by injuries.
I mean, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Kittle was almost hurt a few times, and I mean,
CMC.
CMC was out the entire year, which sucked for my fantasy.
Yep,
so
same here.
I see the Niners going back. I do see the Rams going second, which I hated putting that down on my prediction list, but I see the Rams going second. But yeah, no, I think the Niners are going to.
All right.
Now, for Super Bowl, you see the little lion logo, and I will not hear any slander. I think the Lions are winning it this year. 110% I do. But I also, in my little fantasy, think that the Bills are going to get it done in the AFC for the first time. Notice how in my predictions of the North, East, and West, it is the 3 big named ones. It is Lamar, it is Josh Allen, and it is Patrick Mahomes. The only 3 AFC quarterbacks to really win the MVP over the past few years. And I think Josh Allen is going to play with the gusto of, having his Steinfeld. I think that, Patrick Mahomes is going to be going into that slump where it's just rough for him. And I think Lamar, he's got too big of a shoulder on his chip. He is
Reverse that. Chip on the shoulder.
Chip on his shoulder. There you go. He's got too big of a chip on his shoulder. He is trying so hard to prove everybody wrong that it is hurting his performance in ways. He is trying to prove that he is that playoff quarterback, that Super Bowl caliber quarterback, and he's phenomenal. Not taken away from that. But I think Josh Allen has a bigger chance of getting it done this year, beating the Chiefs and going to the Super Bowl. However, the Lions are healthy. The Lions are healthy. They're getting Aiden Hutchinson back. They have Amon-Ra. They have, Jameson Williams.
Sam Laporta.
Sam Laporta.
They're disgusting.
They have Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, Sonic and Knuckles. And Jared Goff, I'm sorry, whether you like him or not, the dude is a Super Bowl quarterback. He made it to the Super Bowl. You know the team he lost to? Tom Brady's Patriots. Go ahead and tell me that anybody who could do better. There are only 2 quarterbacks that I think really beat them, and that is Eli Manning and Nick Foles. And the fact that Nick Foles is on that list is insane.
That is, yeah.
So,
I don't
Bills,
know.
Lions for the Super Bowl, and Lions winning it all.
I'll give you my take on Goff here in a minute, but
yeah, that's fair. And then as far as MVP,
Joey Burrow.
I don't think the Bengals will get it done in their division. I don't think they're going to go playoffs. I don't think they're going to make it back to the Super Bowl. But I think that their quarterback finally gets the recognition that he needs and deserves, especially after last season doing what he did, putting up the numbers that he did, but only having a 9-8 record. And I think that genuinely hurt him, is that his team's record did not give him the proper respect that he needed for the MVP consideration. The Bills did. The Ravens did. But the Bengals didn't. So I genuinely think that the Bengals will do better this year. and give him at least that winning record to where he could be in consideration for MVP. Because, I mean, they're all locked now.
Yep.
T. Higgins got his contract. Jamar Chase got his contract. They're going to be playing with that gusto. So I think Joe Burrow is the MVP for this season.
I'm going to go with you on that one. That's my MVP. I just think this year they're probably going to make the playoffs as a wild card, and that's enough. If you don't make the playoffs, it's hard to win MVP. Last year, he had the stats for it, but his defense was just so bad. They're not going to be much better this year, but what I do like is you added some pass rushers in the draft, and that could get you some shorter drives where you can maybe get a sack, get the other team off the field, you're back on, more opportunities for the offense to work, and the other team scores so fast anyways, offense is right back out there. You're going to get a lot of opportunities, and you already have one of the best offenses already, so going to put up video game numbers. I really like the Bengals this year on offense, of course. I think everybody likes them on offense. Defensively, they're still a train wreck. All you got to do is throw it over their heads, and you probably got yourself a touchdown. The Ravens in the north, Lions in the north. I just can't go with the Vikings yet. J.J. McCarthy, still a question mark. Seen some good things, seen some bad things at camp with him. Looking at the South, it's pretty straightforward once again. I don't know if Penix is going to be what he's supposed to be. I mean, he looked pretty good, but nothing crazy in your first few games, which is all right. It took Josh Allen a whole year of being very mediocre before he even started to look decent. But Penix is older, has more expectations. And a local
Josh Allen had to go to a whole throwing coach just to change how he throws the ball to get good.
He was a project. Also, a local news company put Michael Penis Jr. on their graphic the other day, which was very funny.
Oh, that was hilarious.
Yeah, you can't do that. That's an FCC violation. Looking in the East, I still got the Bills, but I have the Eagles. The Commanders, to me, just haven't moved the needle enough. They've made good acquisitions, but they got a lot of old heads. They're one of the older teams now. I don't know if I love what they've done, especially with the way the Eagles are set up. They're so deep. They're so talented. Their defense is crazy. On offense, what are you going to do? You take away Saquon, you got A.J. Brown. You take away A.J. Brown. They got so many options to beat you.
Devontae Smith
and it's
all
just
that,
it's so difficult to beat the Eagles. And last year, I'm like, if my team makes a Super Bowl, we would have died. We would have got mauled by the Eagles. The Bills would not have been able to get it done. The Eagles were just a wagon.
My team at the time got mauled, and I thought that they were going to beat them. I thought they were going to run it back like they did the year prior.
Nope, definitely not. And then you got the Chiefs in the West. I mean, they're the class of that division. They always are. Broncos could maybe shock some people. The Chargers are a good team. I just wish the Chargers had more receivers for Herbert to throw to. And Herbert, I like Herbert. I think he's great. But like you said earlier, needs to kind of show up in the big games. And even when he does show up in the big game, he plays against the Chiefs, it seems like Mahomes always gets the ball last in those games. And he gets to drive down the field, and they kick the field goal, and they win the damn game. Only other difference with you is the Rams. The Niners have just been injury-bitten over the last few years, and, you can't predict injuries. It's kind of cringe to predict injuries. Yeah. I just don't know if they can get through a full season healthy. They got a lot of old guys. Their cap situation is not great. They had to let some guys go. If Stafford is healthy, and that's a big if, I think the Rams take it. But Stafford's dealing with back issues, and that's always hard to come back from. I think he has an aggravated disc in his back. Back issues are tough, man. Those don't heal right, especially at his age. Super Bowl, I would almost never pick the Bills. I didn't want to even pick the Bills, almost. But I was looking at things, and I got a gut feeling. All the great quarterbacks had that one random season where Breeze had his year. Manning had his year. Roethlisberger had his years. This kind of feels like, to me, this has to be it. You have to do it. You're running out of time, man. The team's going to keep getting older. You're going to keep getting older. You've been really lucky to be healthy if you're Josh Allen, the way he plays. Gotta win one while you're still young, man.
He plays like a running back in the quarterback position.
Right.
It's wild.
Yeah, you're a big man, but even the big guys eventually get hurt. And Joey Burr, MVP. That was our special segment. We're going to move on to what's more likely. Let me make sure these graphics work all the way. Oh, that's beautiful. That is exactly how I wanted it to work.
Gorgeous.
What's more likely? Now, we're going to premiere this on YouTube. We will put the polls in the chat for you guys to play along with us. But the way this works, we're going to throw prompts at each other, and we're going to figure out what's more likely out of those options. Who wants to go first today? Is it going to be me or you?
I went first last week. Why don't we start?
Yeah, that's fair. All right, let me get mine pulled up here. So, my prompts for what's more likely this week have to do a lot with championships, which, my team that I'm wearing right now is not going to know anything about that for the next 5 to 10. But there's a team in our division.
Tell me about it.
There's a team in our division that's vying for their first championship this year, and that is the Milwaukee Brewers.
The Brewers.
So, my prompts for you are, what's more likely? The Brewers win the World Series this year. I think they finally, they've had a good rotation over the last few years, but their 1-3 punch this year is outstanding. They get into a series, it's going to be really tough to hit them, and their offense has come alive recently. All the guys are contributing. The Eagles repeat as Super Bowl champions. Or the Panthers three-peat in the NHL. So your options are Brewers World Series, Eagles repeat, Panthers three-peat.
I'm going to eliminate the Eagles. I don't think the Eagles are going back to back. Going back to back is extremely rare and extremely hard, and an entire team has to be invested into doing a back to back. Now, don't get me wrong. I think the Eagles players are invested. I think Howie Roseman is great as a GM. I think they want to go back to back, and they're going to try to go back to back. But I don't think they're going to be able to. I think that they're going to hit. I don't think Jalen Hurts is that QB. I still don't think he's him. I still understand why people put him in the top 10, but lower of the top. I don't think that's possible. And then Florida Panthers going on a three-peat. It's not impossible, but I think a lot of teams in the NHL are going to make a lot of moves that are going to be built around defeating that Florida Panthers team and around that. But we're so deep into the MLB season. And we're past the trade deadline. It's hard to rebuild a team to beat a squad. And especially with a squad that has that much momentum, because I think what I saw the other day, they got their free burgers. They got 18 wins in a row.
No,
they got
13,
their burgers.
13.
13?
Yeah. St. Louis still has the NL record, I believe. So, because it was 17 straight a few years back that we did that. I'm hoping they don't break that, because the Brewers don't deserve anything nice.
No, not at all. But I think the Brewers winning the World Series this year, hindsight's 2020, obviously. We may see the Florida Panthers win a three-peat, but I think out of all of them, the Brewers winning a World Series this year is more likely than we see either a back-to-back Eagles or a three-peat of the Panthers.
Okay. I don't hate that. That was my second option. I'm going to go with the Panthers three-peat on this one because they got to retain all their players. During the playoffs, it was like, well, this could be this guy's last season here. Everyone's looking at trades and free agency. And then you remember that Florida has some of the best tax laws in the United States, and those players can go there and play on a discount and not have to pay any income tax. So they get to keep all their players for cheap, which essentially gives them a higher cap than everybody else. They're a disgusting team, a top 3 coach, top-tier offense, and they play the right way, too, in the playoffs. They're not flashy. They get the dirty goals, great defensive core, and you got one of the best playoff goaltenders of the last few years behind you in net. I see no reason why the Panthers can't three-peat, but I hope they don't because I love parity. And then the Brewers,
yeah,
I like what they got. You got Freddie Peralta, you have Woodruff, you have Mizorowski. Those are 3 great starters that you'd love to have in the playoffs. They're all doing the right things. They're all hot right now. Offense up and down is doing what they got to do. They're going to be tough to beat, but they're also the Brewers, and they seem to falter every year they make the playoffs. So I'm kind of expecting a team with the power of friendship, which might actually be the Dodgers in the wild card because they're struggling. They're actually really struggling a lot right now, and we'll get to that in wins and losses. But I would love to see the Brewers out. Maybe not to the Dodgers because nobody wants to see the Dodgers win, but I don't want to see them win a World Series. Come on, man. I'm a Cardinals fan. We can't be rooting for the Brewers.
Look, no, I don't want to either. But it's also kind of like when the Texas Rangers were in the World Series a couple years ago, too. You didn't really want to see it, but at the same time, you didn't really like the other option. So it was taking the lesser of two evils. And I'm sorry, if it's the Brewers versus the Dodgers, I'm picking the Brewers every time.
Yeah, got to pick the Brewers there if they play. But the Rangers they beat the Astros. So I kind of felt like, okay, you stop the Astros from winning another title. You're allowed to win. You can go on,
Yeah.
do your thing, whatever. And you've never won before, so that was another piece of it where, I'm a Blues fan, and now I'm a Suns fan, so I know a lot about and a Bills fan. I know a lot about having no rings. So I kind of felt bad for him, and I was like, we stole a ring from you back in the day. You guys are allowed to win one now. But let's move on to your what's more likely.
So for me, what's more likely? We're going to go back to the NFL with this one. But mine pertains to the quarterback situation within the entirety of the NFL. So mine is, would it be more likely that within the next 5 years, so give it 5 years time, obviously with the next college draft class coming through, we see the NFC have a surge at the quarterback position like the AFC did, or do we just see, or would we just see the NFC poaching those AFC quarterbacks to boost their own conference? Because you think a lot of those older players, they start in their go there, but then they go to another conference and they start to another kind of get picked up from.
That's tough to say because you never know with the draft. 1 year a team has their quarterback get hurt and they tank and they get the number 1 overall pick. And all of a sudden they're the next top dog. The year, maybe Jared Goff leaves one day from the Lions and they got to poach someone from the AFC, and that fills the other side of it.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a lot of talented old heads coming out of the AFC, and I don't see any reason why other teams wouldn't be like, okay, give me a chance. Because drafting is tough, and a lot of the teams in the
110%.
NFC are solid with rental quarterbacks. You have Stafford. Purdy is good, but you don't know if he's going to be the long-term solution there. You think you will. I don't know. The Lions with Goff. And then you have a few young guys like Jaden Daniels and whatever. But I think this going the old head route is probably the way these teams are going to go. Because they have decent rosters. And in a few years when these contracts are up, they're probably going to go after them.
I don't know. The reason that I picked this question is because of Jackson Dart coming out of the Giants. I think Jackson Dart is going to shock a lot of people. And I think that he's going to do well with the Giants. Now, obviously, he's got to sit behind Russell for a season or two, but, I think we might see that QB surge.
Okay. Well, that was what's more likely. Give us your thoughts and opinions in the comments and in the YouTube polls. And, Justin, when this show is over, this is going to be premiering on YouTube, so I will entrust you to set the polls up in the premiere chat if that's possible. I don't know what you're doing after this, but that'd be huge if you could do it.
I will try. I will definitely try.
Because I got to go help, partner move. So I got to kind of skedaddle after the show here. Well, that was what's more likely. We're going to move into the trenches. Into the trenches. That was awful, by the way. Terrible segue. God awful. All right, so into the trenches, if you are unfamiliar, is where we give you our hot take of the week. And last week, you gave us the hot take of the Browns should move out of Cleveland and out of Ohio.
Yes, sir.
And I about shit a brick when you said that.
I stand by my statement.
You're allowed to do that. Also, did your mic input just change? Because you sound a little different now. Oh, shit. He is frozen. We have lost Jet. This is a sad day in Zuggy's Zone history. Look at that, man. He is frozen, drinking his... he went down drinking. Well, we're going to wait for him to get back. In the meantime, I guess I'll give you guys my hot take of the week, as the show must always go on. The hot take for me, and it's a bit of a question you guys can answer as well, because we're all sports fans. We have our favorite teams, and some of us, we root for poverty organizations that just can't get it done. I'm a Bills fan. Every year, we make the playoffs. Every year, we get let down. Every year, we get outcoached. And, the 1 year against the Bengals, we kind of got bitched. I'm going to be real with y'all. I'm looking at my team as one of the most deserving to win a ring, but maybe not the most deserving. Because I'm a big hockey fan, and I look at teams like the Vancouver Canucks, the Winnipeg Jets, these Canadian teams that have never won a Stanley Cup, which is kind of crazy to think about because, the hockey's been so big in Canada over all these years. It looks like Jet might be coming back for us here. Oh, I guess I'm over here now. Oh, now I'm back over here. He's on his phone.
My Wi-Fi died.
I noticed.
Yeah, no, Wi-Fi.
All right, well, we will try to get things working here on the show, but I'm giving them my hot take right now about which professional sports team is the most deserving of a championship. And this isn't just you haven't won a ring before. This isn't just you have the best fan base. You have to have star players. You got to have ownership vying for championships because the Cleveland Browns have great history in that city. Their fans show up for every game, but I wouldn't say they're the most deserving of a championship because their front office and their ownership does not make the right moves to even get them close, and they're just brain damaged. So I have the Buffalo Bills, the Winnipeg Jets, and the Minnesota Timberwolves as my three teams on here that I think are the most deserving, and I want to hear your take on who do you think is the most deserving team in major sports of a championship. Wi-Fi is a problem. Justin is trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I am very much trying to. So who I think is the most deserving is 100%, I think, either the Detroit Lions or the Buffalo Bills. That's part of the reason why I have them for my Super Bowl picks is I think that they deserve that chance to be able to bring a squad there and to do that.
Okay. If you had to pick one of the two, who's more deserving?
Lions. Lions 110%.
Okay. Well, maybe they should consider making a Super Bowl first before they get that title because personally, I think that Buffalo has had nothing going for it. The Sabres have been awful for their entire existence. At least the Tigers have been relevant. They had the Red Wings, and the Pistons have won a championship in most sports fans' lifetime. The Bills have nothing. Absolutely nothing. Buffalo is an awful city. There's nothing going on. All they have is the Bills, and we haven't got it done yet. But I'm not even going to go with the Bills. I'm going Winnipeg Jets. The Jets had a franchise back in the 80s and before that. And they got their team stolen from them because of bad ownership moving the team out of Winnipeg. They've come back, and since they've existed, they've been competitive every year. Their fans show up. They've made playoff runs. They do the right thing as an organization. They're a small market team, and they are just so damn passionate about their hockey, and they're smart fans. As much as I hate arguing with them on Twitter, they know what they're doing. I think they are the most deserving team of a championship in the major sports because you are a Canadian hockey team and you don't have a ring. That is a terrible thing to say. And you could say the Canucks, but the Canucks have shot themselves in the foot more times than I can count. I got to go with the Winnipeg Jets here. Also, the shout out to the T-Wolves. Been bad most of your existence. They're finally competitive, but you just don't have the fan base that some of these other teams do. You support them well, but we're waiting for Jet to get back here. Looks like he's trying to get the Wi-Fi going, and he's back. I see you. I see your beautiful face. What is your hot take of the week?
So, we were talking about football, and we were talking about the whole Rashee Rice situation. We were talking about the whole, suspension looming, everything like that. My hot take is that, if he's going to have to wait for that suspension to start after the first 4 weeks, make him serve the jail sentence at the beginning. That way it's out of the way, it's not looming, it's not going to hurt their off season. That, and if he's injured during the season, he's not having to, go to a jail cell with a bum leg or anything like that. Don't give them the advantage that everybody thinks that they have. Have him do the 30-day jail sentence from August 29th to September 29th. And he's out, goes to disciplinary hearing, does the suspension, and then after that, punishment over. Done and done. I know a lot of Chiefs fans aren't going to like that purely because it... Go ahead.
I don't hate that idea. I just don't... The way the legal system's set out, the NFL can't decide that. Rashee Rice would have to decide it. And the fact that he gets a choice on when he gets to go is awful. If I was street racing and then I hit and ran somebody, my ass would be in a slammer, like a month from then. I'd have to plead guilty to it because there's really no trial here. Come on now. Like, it is pretty clear cut. It's on video. You can't do it. I hate the fact that since he's in the NFL and has all that money that he can just get away with something like this. Because you put lives at risk. You didn't care about those lives when you hit them. You should be suspended for like a season, and you shouldn't get to choose when your jail sentence is. You should be in jail for at least a few months. That's bad. You can't do that, man. That is like, you could have killed somebody. And we've seen it. Henry Ruggs did a few years back. And because he killed somebody, he went to jail and, indefinitely suspended, basically. But this same situation here, you're street racing, broad daylight, hit and run. Same thing could have happened. This punishment should be at least similar. I get he didn't kill somebody, but he might as well have. I mean, you're street racing. You always take that risk every time you do that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think that they should have him those first 4 weeks. Why factor him into a whole season and play him the first 4 weeks if ultimately you're going to lose him for possibly half, if not the rest? I think just, chalk him for another season. Last year he was injured. Not his fault. This year is his punishment year, and then whenever he goes into his final year with contract negotiations looming, because that will be his 4th year with the contract year, let him play. Let him play, see if he still has it or not. Because that first year was great. Second year he got injured, couldn't really see anything. 3rd year, punishment year. 4th year, all or nothing. Put it out on the field. If you perform, you perform. If you don't perform, finish out your contract with the Chiefs and you're done.
Yep, I'm with you on that. That was Into the Trenches. Please give us your hot takes down in the comments as well. Try to keep it on brand with what we talked about today, but if you got something that you got to get off your chest, please let us know. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're here on YouTube. We're also on Spotify if you prefer listening to us like an audio podcast. Which we got to figure that out with the show because I'm busy the rest of the day. I can't sit here and cut up Instagram clips, so I think that might be a tomorrow night or a Monday thing for me. Let's move into our top segment, our favorite one. It's Battle of the Bets. Here we go.
Sir.
All right, so let's recap last week. You actually put together a halfway decent parlay. You had 2 of your 3 legs hit, but neither of us have won any money.
I know.
So unfortunately, I'm down. But if I win some money, I'm right back in it. The main thing here is money. If you've never watched this before, $100 at the beginning of the month that we get to spend on a bet every show. So a 3-leg parlay. Whoever wins the most money end of the month is the winner. And if there's a tie for money, legs 1 will be the tiebreaker. Let's go into our first bet. And I'm going to go first this week since you went first last week. I'm going with That's Not the Right Thing. Wow, I am awful with graphics today. Let's see, did yours update properly? Yes, yours did. All right, well, we're going to start out with you because I can't seem to get the graphics working on today's show.
Awesome. Sounds good. So for mine, I have 2 running backs, and I have Mason Wynn. Now, Mason Wynn, I have him higher at 2.5 total bases hit, and honestly, I don't think that's going to be an issue. Wynn's a good hitter. He's been a great fielder. He is a dominant player for the Cardinals. He is pretty much the poster boy of the Cardinals. So I think 2.5 bases is totally within his range to make. I think that he's perfectly fine. Ashton Genty, I think he is going to get phenomenal carries. They're playing the Niners, right? I don't think the Raiders are going to be able to get anything going on in the air, so I think they're going to have to resort to that ground game, and I think they're going to want to really test Genty's stamina going into the season. So I think higher than half a rushing or receiving touchdown is a given. I honestly think that is just, I think that's just an easy leg to win. And then moving on to Jacob Sailors. Jacob Sailors has been impressing. He's been impressing with the Lions. He has dominated with his fierce run style, reminiscent of, David Montgomery, with how aggressive he pushes through that D line. And, part of it is also that he was a St. Louis Battlehawk this season. I'd love to see him succeed and at least be running back 3. He's not going to be running back 1 or 2. I'd love for him to get that RB3 slot But I think higher than half a rushing or receiving touchdown, yeah, no, I think that's 110% positive because the Dolphins, I have very little to no faith in stopping any sort of run game.
All right. Well, I like your bet. I think the Sailors and Genty picks should probably hit. Mason Wynn, I'm a little bit questionable on because he has been struggling a bit, and I went to the game last night. Didn't quite like what I was seeing. And then you have Max Fried, who is just a dog. He's also struggling on the mound, but he's still a tough guy. If he has his stuff going, that might be tough for Mason Wynn. But hey, he gets 2-hit day, turns one of them into a double. All of a sudden, you're looking at your 2.5 total bases. You're putting 20 on this, and with the big odds on Mason Wynn, $274. That would almost clinch the month for you. My graphic isn't going to work because I was so tired this morning. I couldn't do it right. And it's on Discord, and if I close Discord to get to it, that means that I got to take our cameras off the screen, and we can't be doing that. So let me read it out to y'all at home. We're going to go $20 on 3 picks. We're going to go Pete Crow Armstrong lower than 1.5 hits, runs, and RBI. I'll explain that one. Look, he's been struggling. He's been awful since the All-Star break. Downright useless for the Cubs. He was one of the war leaders.
Yes.
Maybe he's an MVP. Yeah, definitely not. The A in PCA stands for ass. So, lower 1.5 on that. And then Brian Wu, higher 5.5 strikeouts. His last few times out, it's been like 9 strikeouts, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. He has been on fire in the strikeout department. I was told to bet on his over for innings pitched. Underdog won't let us do that here today. So I'm going to go higher, 5.5 strikeouts versus the Mets. And the Mets scored a lot yesterday. I don't think that's going to happen twice. Scoring a bunch of runs against the Mariners is tough. Doing it 2 days in a row is even harder. And then Jackson Dart. I'm going to go higher, 82.5 passing yards. Look, we get it. Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston are going to get their time to play in these games. But the Giants really want to see what they have in Dart. They're going to leave him out there. I think he's going to get opportunities out the wazoo. He looked good in his last start, and 82 is not a lot, especially considering he had like 160 in his last outing. I think he's got that one on lock. For me, it's going to be $20 being put in, and I think I'm winning like 126. So if I hit it and you hit it, you are still in the lead by a lot. Well,
yeah. No, I really like that Jackson Dart pick. I think, don't get me wrong, I think they're 100% going with Russell Wilson as the starter. Jameis Winston's going to be the quarterback 2. And, Dart's going to be 3. He's going to be last resort. But they're playing Dart heavily this preseason. They're throwing him out there and keeping him out there, and they're like, hey, let's get you some practice. They are using these preseason games for Dart like how any smart organization should for a rookie quarterback. They have a veteran that they know can perform, and they're going to use that during, the regular season where it counts, but they're developing their young quarterback to make sure that he is their QB of the future that they want to use. And they're just going to keep developing him throughout the year. That's what the Jets should have done with Zach Wilson. That's what, I believe the Bears should have done with Justin Fields.
Yep.
Because you see so many of these QBs get thrown into unwinnable positions. So I honestly really commend the Giants for doing that with Jackson Dart. And I think Jackson Dart's 100% going to get over that 82.5. I think he is absolutely just a gunslinger. He is a cannon.
Yeah, I am kind of scared with PCA. I'm dunking on him. He's been awful. But at some point, he has to break out of it. And you're playing against the Pirates, and you got a no-name pitcher on the bump. So that one might backfire, but I'm pretty confident in at least 2 legs hitting. And God forbid if we get to the end of the month and we're both tied at 0, I got to get my legs. I got to get up on that. So I'm going with the safer picks today. You're going with the big odds. You win this week, you're probably winning Battle of the Bet for the month. I do apologize for my lack of preparation. Didn't have the graphics set up the way I wanted to. But we're going to move on to our final segment, which is wins and losses. And the way wins and losses work, we break down the standings of the major leagues going on at the time. But like we said last week, the WNBA, we're not moved. We don't really follow it that much. It's not something we're going to break down in detail. So we're going to look at Major League Baseball once again. And there has been some shakeups since last week. So we're going to move right into that. and take a look at the standings. Now, last week I took the AL, you took the NL. Let's reverse it. You got the AL to start. What do we got?
So, Tampa Bay on top. They've got that, very nice 72-win lead on top of their division, which, seeing them above both the Red Sox and the Yankees, I know personally, my bad, that's Toronto, not Tampa Bay. I read that completely wrong, but
All good.
we're gonna move past it. Seeing the Yankees and the Red Sox kind of second and third to a team that, I don't know, you don't really think of within the regular season is kind of satisfying, especially, those coastal cities I'm just not really a huge fan of. But going on to the Central, the Detroit Tigers, 72-win lead above the rest of them. And, personally, huge fan of that because I see Kansas City Royals down there at third, and I wish they were fifth. I wish the Royals were down at the bottom. I wish Kansas City would just, get buried beneath it.
What's that? No. Why do you not like Kansas City, but you were a Chiefs fan?
So, I guess we should announce this now. I am no longer a Chiefs fan. I am not. I am very much... I've made it very well known. I am a St. Louis loyalist. I love anything St. Louis, whether it's the sports teams, whether it's the, whether it's, what they're doing in the city, all that. I love my city very much, and I'm very much loyal to it. And I got to thinking over the summer, I'm like, with the Chiefs wanting to move out of Missouri after they cornered the market, let me do some research into St. Louis football history. And out of the 32 teams that voted to keep the Rams in St. Louis, two of them voted for the Rams to stay. The other 30 voted for them out. And the two that voted for them to stay are the Arizona Cardinals. If you know your St. Louis football history, the Cardinals did the exact same thing that the Rams did, but in the 70s and 80s. So it'd be a little hypocritical. The other one, the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals owner stated that, the fan bases are there. Why would we betray our fan bases? We're loyal to them. Just stay where we're at. The Chiefs, however, they wanted the Rams gone. So that way they could corner the market of football, which, Zuggy, just as well as I do. You go to any sports shop here in the St. Louis area, and it is Chiefs. Chiefs. You go over to, I'm sure if you go over to your side of the pond over in Illinois,
it's still Chiefs. It's still Chiefs. There's no Bears fans down here. It's bad. It's so bad.
Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things where I don't like supporting the crummy practices. I thought, the Chiefs, hometown pride, all that. But after doing my research, after doing the long look and reflecting, the Bengals make more sense. And that is why also, another hot take, if you are a St. Louis sports fan, out of all the teams, if you are a diehard sports fan, I think you should be a Bengals fan too. Because they were the only team that is non-hypocritically supported St. Louis in keeping their football.
I'm with you on that. I mean, I'm not a Bengals fan, but I've never hated the Bengals, other than when we played them in the playoffs and when they killed Damar Hamlin, which was not their fault, by the way. I just hated them because I wanted that one seed so bad. I just wanted it, and, Damar died. But yeah, wins and losses. I'll get back on track here. So you're now a Bengals fan. I want to talk about the West, AL West. I know I said I'll let you get the AL. But Mariners, for the love of God, stop doing what you're doing. We have all this momentum. We're a game back. We're tied. And you got swept by the O's. What are we doing? Like, come on. I think we actually won one of the games, but you can't lose a series to the O's. You can't do it. You can't do it. I mean, you're in the playoff race. They have nothing to play for. You got to go in there and lock it down. And our pitching kind of faltered. Our offense didn't do what they needed to do. And then yesterday, the Mets, I'm seeing that we're scoring runs. I'm like, okay, we scored like 3 runs. We're up in the game. That's usually enough. Final score was 11-9. That's like not something the Mariners do. With Luis Castillo on the bump, we got to lock it in. We got to figure it out, guys. I mean, we got to catch the Astros. I don't want to go into the wild card again. I want to be one of those teams that's getting a bye, and we're going to have to win some games to do so. We got to win the division, and then we got to catch the Tigers. We got to catch the Blue Jays. I just don't know if we can. We have a good roster, but we're not deep. Bullpen's good, starters are good, but the end of our lineup, just not quite there. Phillies, still on top of the NL East. Not a big shocker there. They're just kind of coasting. The postseason is really their season at this point. They're one of those teams. They got nothing left to prove in the regular. All they got to do is get there and just make sure that they're not the third division leader in standings, because they got to make sure they get that bye. Playing the wild card series, you got to use pitchers. That's always rough. That's hard to do. The Brewers still on top of the Central, but the Cubs, if they make a late push, they could maybe. I don't think the Brewers can keep this up, but if they do, they're going to lock things up in the NL Central. 13-game win streak kind of speaks for itself. And the Cubs, their star player, PCA, is playing like dog shit. And then in the West, the big shocker, Padres are tied with the Dodgers. They're right there. Please make them play the wild card. Padres need to come through here. They went all in this year, and at the deadline, they probably overpaid for a lot of the pieces they got, but it's going to pay off. If they can beat the Dodgers, that's worth it to them. Go out there, make a run. I'd be okay with the Padres coming away with a World Series championship this year. The wild card is where things get a little bit hairy. The Guardians are still close. I don't want to see the Guardians, though. Their ownership does not deserve it. Did not spend money on the team this year to make them better. And then the Reds are right there with the Mets. If the Mets keep struggling, especially against Seattle in this series, the Reds are right there. They could maybe make it, be huge for the city. I know the Reds fans have been dying to be relevant for a long time, and ownership has not allowed it to happen. I kind of hope they get in because, who wants to see the Mets? Come on now. But realistically, perfect world, the Cubs fall out, the Mets are in, the Reds are in, because I would rather see the Mets than the Cubs. Whew. Well, that was wins and losses, my friend.
Oh, yeah, 110%.
Wins and losses, fun segment, but it is fairly straightforward. Let's wrap things up, I guess, with the show today. So, finishing thoughts, things we got to do better for next week. For one, don't get up at 6 in the morning with barely any sleep, because all the graphics will be screwed up. That's on me. Figure out how to live stream.
Figure out my Wi-Fi.
I got to figure out how to live stream.
Yeah.
That was bad. That was awful. I think it's all the graphics just don't get along with. There's so many things happening on our screen, does not get along with streaming. Plus, I'm not plugged into Ethernet. Your Wi-Fi exploded in the middle of the show. Not your fault. Nothing you can do. But it was a fun show. We talked about some good things. I really enjoyed talking about the WNBA segment. I think that was fun. And hopefully the people at home agree. The WNBA is easy to dunk on, even though they don't dunk in the league. A lockout. You can't have a lockout. You're struggling. Nobody's watching your league.
No.
And then you have a lockout. Can't do that. Hell no.
I still think they do that lockout. That league's done. I get it be a PR nightmare, but why pay for a league if they're not going to play?
I'm with you on that. Well, that's all for Zuggy Zone here today. If you want to catch up on what happened in today's show, you joined late for whatever reason in the premiere, it's going to be on YouTube as a full video. It's also on Spotify. Clips are going to be uploaded to Instagram. And if you want updates on the show and when it's going to happen next, be sure to follow us on Twitter. All links in the description. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.